as life enters its twilight. It is also the moment we realize that our stories seem etched in stone, that our sacrifices, pain, and even betrayals have left their marks on the paths we've walked. Yet life is never truly static. It bends, twists, and brings surprises, even when we least expect them. Never forget, you matter, and it's never too late to rebuild. Meet Evelyn Harper, a woman whose life seemed defined by devotion. For 25 years, she sacrificed everything to care for her husband, Howard, paralyzed after a devastating accident. One sleepless night, Evelyn made a decision to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. What she discovered was either betrayal or liberation. The answer is yours to interpret. Who am I without the roles I've played? This is a story of self-discovery, resilience in the face of adversity, and the courage to reclaim a life that had quietly slipped away. Welcome to the Elder's Compass. If this video resonates with you, help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers, an incredible milestone that will inspire us to keep creating meaningful content for our wonderful community. Hit that subscribe button and join us today. Now, pour yourself a cup of tea, settle into your favorite chair, and join us as we explore Evelyn's story, a reminder that it's never too late to rewrite the narrative of your life. Evelyn Harper had long ago made peace with her life, or so she thought. At 72, her days passed in quiet repetition within the walls of the modest home she shared with her husband, Howard. Every morning began with the same ritual, the rhythmic hum of the electric lift chair as Evelyn carefully guided Howard from bed to wheelchair, a practiced choreography refined over 25 years. Howard, 74, had been paralyzed from the waist down after a steel beam collapsed at the mill where he worked. That one accident had forever changed their lives. Evelyn, at the time just shy of 50, had abandoned her plans for early retirement and spent the next quarter century as his caregiver. To everyone in their small Illinois town, Evelyn was a saint, a paragon of duty and devotion. But the truth, buried deep in the quiet hours of her mind, was more complicated. Sometimes, Evelyn sat in the living room after a long day, staring at her hands. They bore the marks of her labor, arthritis in the joints from pushing his chair, calluses from gripping the medical bed rails, and veins that traced the years like rivers on a map. Her life had become a shadow of what it once was, but she told herself it was enough. This is love, she thought. This is what I vowed to do. The first spark of doubt came on an ordinary morning. Evelyn had prepared Howard's breakfast, a soft-boiled egg, toast cut into precise triangles, and coffee cooled to just the right temperature. As she approached the kitchen, she noticed something odd. The coffee mug she'd left full was half empty. She frowned. "Did I drink that?" she murmured. Her memory wasn't as sharp as it once was, and the explanation seemed plausible, but a faint unease settled in her chest. Over the following weeks, more small anomalies piled up. A pillow on the living room couch looked disturbed, though Howard never sat there. The faintest scuff marks appeared on the floor near his wheelchair, as though the chair had moved when she wasn't around. And then there was the most unsettling. One night, as she drifted to sleep, she thought she heard footsteps, soft and deliberate, crossing the floor. Evelyn's heart raced, but she didn't investigate. She told herself it was the house settling, or maybe the wind. "I'm imagining things," she said, clutching the blanket tighter. Weeks passed, but the unease grew until Evelyn confided in her closest friend, Martha. Over steaming cups of chamomile tea in Evelyn's sunlit kitchen, she shared her suspicions. Footsteps? Moving chairs? Martha's brow furrowed. "Ev, you've been caring for Howard so long. Maybe it's stress getting to you. You're exhausted." Evelyn hesitated. "Maybe you're right, but what if it isn't just me? What if something's going on?" Martha leaned forward. "Then you need to find out. You've sacrificed everything for Howard. Ev, you deserve the truth." Martha's words lingered in Evelyn's mind long after her friend left. That evening, she sat in the dim light of her bedroom, staring at her laptop. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard before she finally searched discreet home surveillance cameras. When the package arrived 2 days later, Evelyn's hands trembled as she opened it. The camera was small, unobtrusive. She placed it high on the mantel, hidden among the porcelain figurines Howard had given her for their anniversaries. For the next 3 nights, she let the camera run while she went about her routine, dreading what it might reveal. On the 4th morning, Evelyn sat at the kitchen table with the tablet linked to the camera's feed. The first 2 nights showed nothing unusual. Howard lying motionless in his bed, the soft glow of the nightlight casting long shadows. But on the 3rd night, at 1:43 a.m., her world shifted. The footage showed Howard, her husband of nearly 50 years, sit up in bed. His movements were deliberate as he swung his legs over the side and planted them firmly on the floor. Evelyn clutched the edge of the table as the scene unfolded. Howard stood, stretched, and walked to the kitchen. He opened the fridge, poured himself a glass of milk, and drank it while leaning against the counter. His posture relaxed, natural. The tablet slipped from Evelyn's hands, clattering to the table. Her heart raced, her mind refusing to accept what her eyes had seen. "No," she whispered. "This isn't possible." Howard noticed the change in Evelyn immediately. Her morning routine was stiff, her words clipped. She avoided his gaze as she pushed him to the breakfast table. He opened his mouth to ask what was wrong, but before he could speak, Evelyn placed the tablet in front of him and pressed play. The footage rolled. Howard's face drained of color. "Explain," Evelyn demanded, her voice trembling with rage. "Explain what I'm looking at." Howard's mouth opened, then closed. He stared at the screen, his hands gripping the wheelchair's armrests. "Ev," he began, but the words faltered. "Don't you dare Ev me," she snapped. "I gave you 25 years of my life. Howard, my whole life. And you've been lying? All this time?" Howard's voice was barely audible. I didn't know how to stop." Evelyn's knees buckled, and she sank into the chair opposite him. Her hands shook as she gripped the edge of the table. "Start at the beginning. Tell me everything." Howard's confession came haltingly, in fragments, like broken glass pieced together. "I was paralyzed after the accident," he said, staring at his hands. "At first, I couldn't move at all, but after about a year, I started to feel tingling. The doctors said it was a good sign, but I didn't tell you. I was afraid it would give you hope, only for it to disappear." He paused, swallowing hard. "Then, one day, I realized I could move my legs. I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. And you were so devoted. Ev, I didn't want to lose that." Evelyn stared at him, her chest tightening. You let me believe you were paralyzed to keep me here? To keep me taking care of you?" Howard nodded miserably. "It wasn't just that. I felt ashamed, useless, like if I admitted I could walk, you'd resent me for all the years I took from you. So I stayed silent, and the longer I waited, the harder it got to tell the truth." Evelyn's hands trembled as she covered her face. Anger, heartbreak, and betrayal churned inside her. She had given up everything, her career, her social life, her dreams of traveling, and it had all been for a lie. "You stole my life," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You stole everything." In the days that followed, the house was steeped in silence. Evelyn moved Howard to the guest room and stopped performing his care. He stumbled through his days, struggling to regain the independence he had feigned losing. Evelyn, meanwhile, spent her time in the garden or on long walks. She replayed Howard's confession in her mind, over and over, searching for a way forward. Her anger was a storm, but beneath it lay a deeper sadness, a grief for the life she had lost and for the man she had once loved. One afternoon, she found herself in the attic, sorting through old boxes. Among them was a forgotten sketchbook from her youth. The pages were filled with delicate pencil drawings of flowers, landscapes, and portraits. Tears welled in her eyes as she flipped through the book. She had stopped drawing when life became too busy, when caregiving consumed her. Evelyn clutched the sketchbook to her chest. "I've lost enough time," she thought. "I won't lose any more." Evelyn enrolled in a painting class at the local senior center. The first time she picked up a brush, her hand trembled with uncertainty, but soon the colors flowed. Each stroke became a release, a reclamation of the parts of herself she had buried. At home, Howard watched her transformation with a mix of admiration and guilt. He tried to mend their fractured relationship, writing her notes, cooking simple meals, and even walking into the garden to help her with the flowers. Evelyn accepted his efforts in silence, but her heart remained guarded. One evening, as Evelyn prepared for her first art exhibition, Howard approached her on the porch. The sunset bathed his face in gold, highlighting the lines etched by years of regret. "Ev," he said softly, "I know I can't undo what I've done, but I'm proud of you. Watching you find yourself again, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Evelyn looked at him, her anger tempered by time. "I'm not doing this for you, Howard. I'm doing it for me." "I know," he said, "and that's why it matters." At the exhibition, Evelyn stood before her paintings, surrounded by friends and strangers who marveled at her work. She spoke about her journey, the years of sacrifice, and the rediscovery of her voice. Howard watched from the back of the room, his eyes filled with tears. He knew he would spend the rest of his life trying to earn her forgiveness. But in that moment, he was simply grateful for her strength, her courage, and the chance to witness her bloom. For Evelyn, the future was uncertain. But one thing was clear: she would no longer live in the shadows of the past. With each brushstroke, she was creating a life that was fully, beautifully her own. Evelyn Harper's story is one that resonates deeply with anyone who has ever felt the weight of duty overshadowing their own identity. It's a narrative that speaks to the soul, particularly for those in the later stages of life, when it's easy to believe the chapters of discovery and growth have already been written. Yet Evelyn's journey reminds us of an essential truth: life's most transformative moments often come when we least expect them. For 25 years, Evelyn lived for someone else. Her sacrifices were noble, yet they slowly eroded the essence of who she was. This speaks to a reality many caregivers, parents, and partners face: the gradual loss of self in service to others. Evelyn's discovery of Howard's betrayal was devastating, but it also became a turning point, forcing her to confront a question she had long buried. What about me? What makes Evelyn's story so profound is her response to that question. Instead of succumbing to bitterness or remaining trapped in anger, she chose to rebuild, not for Howard, not for appearances, but for herself. This decision to reclaim her identity, her passions, and her joy is a powerful reminder that it is never too late to start again. For older audiences, Evelyn's story carries a particularly meaningful lesson. You matter. In a world that often undervalues the wisdom and contributions of the elderly, this message is a call to action. Your dreams, your passions, and your happiness are as important today as they were in your youth. It's never too late to rebuild. Whether it's rediscovering an old hobby, reconnecting with friends, or setting boundaries in relationships, the power to redefine your life lies within you. Evelyn's journey also teaches us the value of forgiveness, not necessarily as an act of reconciliation, but as a way to free oneself from the chains of resentment. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing wrongs. It means choosing not to let them define you. By letting go of her anger toward Howard, Evelyn opened the door to healing, both for herself and for their fractured relationship. Finally, Evelyn's story is a celebration of creativity and self-expression. Her paintings became a language of healing, a way to process her emotions and reclaim her narrative. For those listening, it's a reminder that creativity knows no age and that exploring new avenues of self-discovery can bring immense fulfillment. Evelyn's story invites us all to ask, what parts of myself have I left behind? How can I take the first step toward reclaiming joy, purpose, and self-worth? Whether you're a caregiver, a partner, or simply someone searching for meaning, let Evelyn's journey inspire you to reflect on your own life. It's not selfish to prioritize your well-being. It's necessary, because when you live authentically, you radiate positivity and strength to those around you. That wraps up our video for today. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. They mean a lot to us and help us grow together as a community. Have you ever felt the need to rediscover yourself? What steps have you taken to rebuild a life that truly reflects your worth and passions? If you found Evelyn's story inspiring or think it could benefit someone you know, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button to support the Elders Compass. Help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. It's a big milestone that will motivate us to keep creating more meaningful and uplifting content for you. By subscribing, you'll stay connected and be part of a community that values living well, embracing every stage of life, and supporting one another. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.